and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K YouTube Live. And I'm going to show you today how I made a card with the wrapped bouquet stamp set bundle from Stampin' Up. This is one of the newer bundles in the mini catalog, the current mini that we've got going on, which is January to June. And gosh, I'm all crookedy and crazy again today. But I did remember, I think, to turn my Do Not Disturb on my phone. So hopefully we won't get a phone call that'll turn everything off in the middle of it. So, but again, hoping for a better day, better video day today. So, all right. So I'm going to be using the wrapped bouquet stamp set bundle to make a Mother's Day card. Yeah, again, you can change the sentiment up to anything that you want on it, but I need a Mother's Day card or two, so I just figured I would go ahead and get them made a little bit ahead of time. Hey, Karen, thanks for joining today. I appreciate you being here. All right, so this is the card we're making, and I used some of the Fine Art Floral Designer Series paper. That's where the background paper, as well as a little bit of blue paper that's underneath there, I'll show you in a second. But that's all from the Fine Art Floral Designer Series paper. I used one of the vellum, square vellum doilies, that's the name of them. And then I used a couple die cuts on here, but basically that's it. So it's a pretty simple card. Let's start quickly with the wrapped bouquet stamp set. Well, actually it's a whole bundle, but this is a stamp set, and I love it because, you know, I'm all about dies and I love flowers, and so this one's a good one for me because, again, it's one of those that's kind of a more general. I love that it does have a Mother's Day in it, but it's also can be used kind of for anything. There's a thanks friend and a for you and a love you bunches, so you can kind of use it for a little bit of whatever you'd like, and it's a really pretty set. All right, hey, Karen and Debbie and Sheila, I appreciate you being here as well, so thanks for joining. So these are the coordinating wrapped flowers dies, and I guess I shouldn't have put the stamp set so far away. So we've got, this is the large die cut that actually cuts out this image, and then we have one that cuts out the other floral image, and then this one actually cuts out the newspaper. And if you haven't seen it, I will show you how today. It's very simple to use, but it's a fun little die that makes the little wrapped newspaper. And then we've got a little tag on here, and then there are just some accessory pieces, some floral greenery, I guess these would be, and then little flowers. And so again, just some good basic die cuts in this one. So definitely a good one. And it's available bundled together for a discount of 10% if you order it, definitely before the end of the catalog. So let me know if you have questions on that or where to find it. So, okay, you can order the pieces individually, but you know, 10% is 10%, I take it. All right, so a couple other things we used on here. I did use the Tasteful Labels dies, which again, I use them all the time. So, you know, this is a great set. If you don't have it yet, you definitely need to get it. And it is gonna be in the new big annual catalog, so yay. This one is one of the sets that's carrying over. So I used the little banner die from that to cut out the Happy Mother's Day. And then I also used, as you all know, these are another set of my favorites, the stitched rectangle dies, and I used the second largest, sorry, wrong one. I thought it was the third one. Second largest die to cut out the background paper, and then this one should be then this is the largest of the kind of narrow rectangles. So I had the second largest of the wider rectangles and the largest of the narrow rectangles, if that makes sense, since there are two different shapes of rectangles on here. So again, these are the stitched rectangle dies, and they will also be carrying forward into the next annual catalog. So yay, I'm happy about that. A couple things to talk with you about. The Hey Chick and the Hey Birthday Chick stamp set bundles are still available from Stampin' Up! Through the end of June of this year. So June 30th is when these will go away. Well, when the Hey Chick bundle will go away. This one maybe is in the new catalog. So, but yeah, this one, the stamp set is not discontinued, so we'll just say that. But the Hey Chick stamp set was the old one from Celebration. And so this one we do have, that one is only available through the end of June. If you already have it, there are some new dies that coordinate with it, and it is the same exact stamp set, so if you already have it, you don't have to buy both pieces. You can get it in a bundle or get them individually. And then again, we've got the Hey Birthday Chick stamp set. It's bundled together with dies. If you do not want to purchase them together, want to purchase them individually, you can definitely do that as well. Hey, Lisa and Gina and Barbara, thanks for joining today. And then the butterfly bouquet. stamp set bundle is available now. This is an early release item from the upcoming annual catalog. It is bundled together, stamp set and dies, and this bundle is going to continue forward in the next annual catalog, so you'll still be able to get that at the bundled discount moving forward. But they have some Natural Touch specialty paper that is only available while supplies last through May 3rd. So if you have not got it or have not picked up a pack yet, you definitely should pick up a pack. And then if you haven't heard already, the Butterfly Bijou 6x6 designer paper has sold out. So that is gone and can't get it anymore, unfortunately. All right, so let's get going on the card. And I will try not to talk too much today. I probably will. Okay, so I've got the Fine Art Floral Designer Series paper. And again, I did the die cutting with the stitched rectangle dies ahead of time. This one was the second largest of the wider rectangles. And we're going to adhere that. Oh gosh, this side's just as pretty. So it's hard for me to decide which side I like best, but with the flowers over the top, probably better go with the other one. A little more neutral. And I'm adhering that to a piece of basic white cardstock that is cut to 3.5 by 4 7/8, and just using a little Stampin' Seal adhesive to do that. And then this one again was cut from that same pack of designer paper. It's just it's a different pattern that's in there. And this one was cut with the largest of the little narrow rectangles in the stitched rectangles dies. Just using a little Stampin' Seal to also adhere that together. And the main thing, I want it to be even along the side and then about even top to bottom. Again, there's no special placement or anything that I need to make sure it's exactly here, exactly there. Just sort of get it in that general area. And then this is one of the square vellum doilies, and I'm going to adhere this onto the card front and again try to center it all the way around the edges. But I'm going to take some adhesive and just kind of run it right across here to stick this down because, as you can see, it's going to be hidden by the flower images, and nobody's going to know that you've got adhesive kind of gooping out in between spaces on your doily. So I just put a little bit of adhesive here and a little bit up near the top because, again, I know both of those places are going to be covered with my die cut here in a second. And then I'm going to adhere the square vellum doily over the top. And I like to use Stampin' Seal or something that's a little more substantial for this type of adhering just because it's layered underneath and I want to make sure that it's really stuck well to the card front. So I hate to put just little dabs of glue and things here and there and then, have the card front fall apart. So I prefer to use things like Stampin' Seal and just hide it underneath my die cuts, and then you're all set. All right, next up, we're going to do a little bit of stamping with the Wrapped Bouquet stamp set. So I have got one of the larger floral images here, or well, I guess it is one. Yeah, there's another floral image. So, and Pear Pizzazz ink, and we're going to stamp it on basic white cardstock. And again, I'm just putting it over here to the side, making sure I get it all inked up well and trying not to bang the table when I do it. So that's why I'm holding it up in the air. I'm hoping that I'm not wiggling the camera too much as I ink things up. And then we're going to stamp it here, and looks like we got a pretty good image with that one. So I'm going to set that aside and close up my ink pad before I stick my fingers in it. And before I start coloring, I'm actually going to cut it out just in case I have a little cutting oopsie, because I have done that before. So this is one of the wrapped flowers dies, and I'm just going to place it right around the stamped image and run it through my die cutting machine, which is off to my right hand side. So hopefully y'all are enjoying your day. It's kind of a pretty day here in New Jersey. The wind has picked up a little bit, but definitely much warmer here. I think we're supposed to be up in the 70s today. I went outside early this morning and got my daughter off to school and needed long sleeves then, but I wore them this afternoon and I'm like, it's kind of too warm for long sleeves. So, all right. What else was I going to do? Oh, I was going to stamp the little newspaper image. I'm letting this dry for just a second as I'm talking and stalling here a little bit so that it's ready to go when I want to color it. Not that you need to let it dry super, super long, but you don't want to have it be anything wet on it. Otherwise, you may end up potentially smearing your ink around, and you don't want that to happen. So, hey, Lee from Virginia, thanks for joining today. I've got smoky slate ink here that I'm going to be using to ink up. This is what it's supposed to look like newspaper, and hopefully you can kind of see that on the image. But it's supposed to look like a little newspaper, and you'll see it when it's stamped. So I'm inking it up with smoky slate. And this is a die cut from the Wrapped Bouquet dies. And again, this is the piece that I've cut. I find it easier to actually cut the piece out first and then stamp it. And you'll see why, because you're stamping both sides of it. So to me, it's easier if I cut the piece out. And it does not matter one bit if you get it stamped exactly straight at all. Because when you wrap it around, you can't tell what's straight and what's not on it anyway. Now, you may not want to like turn it completely like that and stamp it, but as long as you generally get it so that it's going crossways, nobody's going to be able to tell when they look at it later on after the fact, whether it's straight or not. So just kind of generally get it about that, you know, like I said, sort of straight, and you'll be all set and nothing to worry about. All right, so we've got the newspaper image, again, stamped in smoky slate. And I actually think I might have used gray granite on it now that I'm looking at that, but that's okay. Smoky slate, gray granite, close enough. All right, so the die, as you probably saw, has got some score lines on it. And it's a little odd when you first look at it to try to figure out what in the world am I supposed to do with these score lines on here. So there's one that kind of goes straight up and down, and that's the one I just folded over like this. And then we've got one here that I'm going to fold up, so that's this score line. I'm kind of folding it so that it brings a wedge across it. This is the part that took me a while to kind of figure out when I first looked at it. You take the two flaps over here that it cuts. This one's got the notch in it, and you're going to bend this one back and then bend this one down and then fold this over. So that's how you get your little wrapped newspaper. So again, we start out with it flat, and it's already got the score lines on it. And if you fold the score lines the wrong way the first time, it's okay. You can flip them the other way really easily. It's no problem at all. So start by folding it in half, kind of with the straighter of the two score lines, and then fold your flap in here, the angled larger one, and then take your two small flaps and flip them the opposite direction of the way that you think that they should go. And then just adhere the pieces together with glue dot or whatever your choice of adhesive is. So it's super easy to put together once you kind of take a look at it and figure out what way it goes. I mean, it's easy, but I don't know why it took me a few minutes to kind of figure it out the first time I went to go and put the newspaper together. Hey, Rosie, thanks for joining today. All right, so to adhere it together, glue dots are generally my preferred adhesive when I'm doing any kind of thing like this, just because, I don't know, liquid glue and I sometimes don't get along very well, and it likes to get everywhere, and I don't necessarily love for it to be everywhere. So I tend to use glue dots for these types of things, and I've put one underneath the little short flap here and then two on the larger flap, and I'm just going to fold it over and stick it together. And that's all there is to the wrap. So again, it's really easy to put together, and it's cute. All right, so we've got our die cut flowers here that I've stamped in Pear Pizzazz ink, and I've got Petal Pink, light and dark Stampin' blends. And again, this is another one of those images that is pretty forgiving and doesn't require a whole lot of really complex blending. I tend to start with my light first and just get color all over the image, unless there's a spot I don't want it on. But in this case, I want all of my flowers to be pink. So I'm just going to color with the light Petal Pink first. And then I come back in with my dark and add a little bit of shading and then blend them together again with the light. So I've got the light Petal Pink down on it. Again, I'm not excellent at coloring, so I just kind of assume that down in the center of the flower would likely be a little bit darker, and probably here underneath some of the petals will be a little darker. And again, on this one, kind of down towards the bottom will be a little darker. And again, that's my assumption, it'd be a little darker down here as well. So just adding a little bit of the dark ink in. And then this one actually isn't too bad for blending. It doesn't look like it's going to need a whole lot of blending after the fact. I'm just kind of filling in a few of the little white spaces that I missed. Mostly I'm not really even blending it because these two blended together pretty well all by themselves. All right, and that's it for the coloring of the pink flowers. The next ones I've got here, I've got Light Pool Party, and these are the little tiny flowers, and I actually am going to just use the bullet tip on those. This is the Light Pool Party, and again, they're kind of clumped together, and the nice bonus is that they are clumped together, and you don't have to color them, unless you want to, spend hours and hours coloring them all. I just sort of go over and quickly color over everything. And if you go a little out of the lines, it's okay, because, you know, it's sort of artsy looking that way. So at least that's my opinion on it. I call it artsy, not a mess. I didn't make a mess. It's artsy. And I see one little flower here that I missed. There was a little pink one down there. And then the last ones that I'm going to color here, the larger ones, I've got light and dark so saffron Stampin' Blends. And I'm going to color the larger flowers with those. So here is my light. And I'm coloring again, just putting the color. Oh, I see I missed a couple little blue ones up there towards the top. You know, I'm going to flip to my other side. I need to get a new pair of the Stampin' Blends for So Saffron. Apparently I use this marker a lot. And it's starting to get a little bit dry. So I need to get a new set ordered for me so that they don't run out. All right, and then I'm going to come back in here again and just kind of go around the centers and a little bit out on the petals with the dark So Saffron. And then I'm going to come back again with my light and do just a little bit of blending and make sure that I got all the spaces filled in here that I want to make sure that I have color on. And that's going to be it kind of for the coloring on this. It's pretty easy. Although I do need to grab my pool party marker. And actually there's another little pink one there that I missed. Goodness, maybe I need new glasses. I probably do. All right, let me grab my pool party marker and color in the little flowers up there. All right, and we're all done with the coloring part. So again, super, super simple. I have pre-cut some of the background foliage pieces, I guess is what I'll call them, from Pear Pizzazz cardstock. And got a couple glue dots here, and I'm just going to adhere the little pieces to the back of this die cut that I've colored here. And I don't need to be super careful about where I put the glue dots, because they should be, as long as they're down towards the bottom, they will definitely be hidden on the back of your die cut anyway, so nobody's going to notice them. I'm going to put the larger one over here, kind of peeking out that side, and larger one over here, peeking out this side. And then I'm going to take a couple of glue dots and adhere the other floral pieces on. And if I haven't said it already, all the details for this will be posted on my blog tomorrow, which is stampwithamyk.com. So you'll be able to see all the cardstock cuts and find links to everything that I use to make the card listed out there. So no need to worry about kind of trying to keep up or writing down cardstock sizes or anything like that as we go along. It'll all be posted tomorrow. And I will share a link to my blog post once it goes live tomorrow morning, which will be Saturday. So, all right, just going to adhere that together. Again, a couple of glue dots there. And then I'm going to take some glue dots and put them down here at the bottom of the flowers. And we're going to tuck that inside our wrap. Hopefully, there we go. Tuck it down inside there. And then give it a little squeeze. And the little wrap is pretty much all done. We need to put some twine around it, but other than that, it's all done. So it's really, like I said, it's easy to use. And pretty, I think. It's fun to use too. So, all right. One last little spot that I'm going to put a glue dot is on the back of this. And I'm going to use that to hold my linen thread, which I've got here. And I'm going to tie my bow with it. But because this is not a flat and straight piece of a flat and straight die cut, it's a little challenging to wrap it around and get the twine to stay in one spot without having it secured in some way. So I just took a little glue dot and stuck it on the back. And I'm going to fumble and try to get a bow tied here for you on screen. So I usually start with my little knot, and then let me grab my paper snips. So I'm glad you like it, Karen. Like I said, this is one of my favorite bundles. I don't know, I guess I like flowers. and I like that you can change it into a birthday card or just a for you card or whatever it is that you want it to be. So that's the one nice thing is it's not specific to a holiday or something like that. So a little more general. So, all right, got my linen thread tied on there. And then I'm going to take a couple Stampin' Dimensionals and I'm going to adhere that to the card front. So I'm making sure that I put a Stampin' Dimensional down underneath here where I've got the glue dot, and then a couple here around the glue dot towards the top so that the glue dot hopefully doesn't stick to the card. If it does, it's not a huge deal. And then also sticking a few of the Stampin' Dimensionals around the die cuts here on the top to help hold those a little bit more securely in place as well. It just always helps to have more solid adhesive, which your Stampin' Dimensionals are. The glue dots are a little movable, so if somebody tugs on it, or if it gets, pushed or whatever, the glue dots will move a little bit, where the Stampin' Dimensionals won't. So that just gives you a little extra stability in your project. Okay, now I'm going to take this and place it on the card front. Again, making sure that I'm covering up my adhesive goober that I've got over here and not getting too far off the edge of the card because I still need it to fit on the card front. So we've got that adhered down. Next up, we're going to do a sentiment, and I'm going to stamp that in Versamark ink on a piece of Petal Pink cardstock. And again, I'm using the Happy Mother's Day one. I'm so glad linen thread is not retiring too. I was worried. I had seen it was on the back order list for a minute recently, and I went, oh, if that retires, I don't know what we're going to do. Because that's like my go-to for pretty much everything anything I want to tie a bow with. Ribbon and I don't always agree. I don't know, ribbon sort of has a mind of its own, but I love the linen thread, especially now that they've switched it and have it on the spool instead of having it flat where it used to have the kinks in it. The spools are really nice. So, all right, so I don't know if I've been saying what I've been doing or if I've just been rambling, but Petal Pink cardstock, Versamark ink, and then I've got white Stampin' embossing powder that I've sprinkled on it, and we're going to do some heat embossing. So I'm going to pull my heat tool over here, and the Stampin' Up! Heat tool has 2 settings on it. The level 1 setting is for drying, so if you do watercoloring or something like that and want the ink to dry fairly quickly, you can use the level 1 setting to do that. And then the level 2 setting is for heat embossing, so I've turned it on to the level 2 setting. I'm giving it a second to warm up, and then we're going to watch the sentiment. Hopefully, yep, there we go. Start to turn bright white, and that means that it's done cooking. All right, and then we turn it off and give it just a second to cool down before you run it through the die cutting machine, because this is a plastic material, and basically if you touch it right away and it's still melted, you can smear it and make a huge mess. Ask me how I know, because I've done it. So, all right. So I've got the Tasteful Labels dies, and again, the little banner die is the one that I'm going to use to cut the sentiment out. When I line it up in here, because I know that I'm going to be a little short on space, I want to make sure that I line it so that it's as close to the little notch here as I can get it without having it chop anything off. So I want it to be closer to the left-hand side than the right-hand side, because this I can tuck right underneath here and nobody's going to know. So, all right, so again, I'm going to wheel over here to my right and run this through the die cutting machine. Hopefully, anyway. Run it straight through. That's always a challenge. Sometimes the dies don't always want to go the direction I want them to, but we're having a discussion right now, and hopefully I will win. So, all right. All right, there's my die cut sentiment. And we'll set the paper aside here, and then we're going to use a little Stampin' Seal to adhere this to the card front. Just put a little bit on the back, and I'm going to tuck it here right underneath. And again, you can see my adhesive, well, I don't know if you can see it. I can see my adhesive is here. So I want to make sure that I've got that part covered. And whoop, I think I'm hitting a Stampin' Dimensional under there. Nope, maybe not. Maybe I'm just wrestling with it. Of course, I'm just wrestling with it because I'm on the camera. So why would it not, The other thing you can do, if you've done like I have done and got a Stampin' Dimensional or some sort of adhesive that is arguing with you about spacing, you can definitely trim down your sentiment a little bit with your scissors, paper snips, just chop it off. And I don't know what it is catching on. Oh, I see. There's a dimensional there. All right. I think we are good. I think I'm going to be able to get this put in here. There, finally. All right. Who knew putting a sentiment on would be the hardest part of making the whole card. All right. Then I've got my rhinestones here, just the basic rhinestone jewels, the clear ones, and I'm going to adhere one of those, not to my finger, and hopefully to the card front here. Just put it on the little piece of newspaper. Maybe. I thought I had it there, and then it jumped off. Okay, so maybe rhinestones are causing trouble today too. All right, down, done. Okay. Let's put it on the card front before I have any other goofs on it. And this is a petal pink card base. This one is cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. This would also fit on a regular book fold card, which would be your 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. So whichever your preferred card base is, this card front will definitely work on either one. Hey Cheryl, thanks for hopping in from Florida. Hopefully you're having a good day down there, and hopefully you didn't get any of that yucky weather. I know I have friends in Georgia, and they had tornado warnings and all sorts of craziness overnight, so hopefully everybody stayed safe down there. And I haven't checked the news today, so I don't even know for sure if anybody ended up with bad storms. Hopefully not. So, and I had heard from my friend Karen, who was on, that we were supposed to have storms here today, but so far so good. It's just we've had some wind and a little bit of rain, but nothing really of any significance, at least in our area, thank goodness. So, all right, so I've got my card front done, and I am going to trim down my linen thread bow just a little bit, but I wanted to wait until I got it put on my card front so that I kind of knew how long I wanted the little strings to be on it, but I think that works. All right, the inside of the card I kept super simple. We've got some basic white cardstock. How's the wind? It's windy here. I mean, I was a little worried we might lose power because that's our area. For whatever reason, the wind seems to knock out the power pretty frequently. So hopefully we'll make it through the end of the live, and hopefully it won't happen. So, all right, we've got petal pink ink, and this is the larger of the two floral images from the Wrapped Bouquet stamp set, and I'm just going to ink it hopefully fairly well here in petal pink ink. I think I got it, and I'm going to stamp it here sort of off the edge of the card, or of the panel here. This is basic white cardstock. And then I'm going to get my sentiment and smoky slate ink, or gray granite if you want to follow my original one, because I pulled out the wrong ink pad. So, but this one will work, and I think it works. The two colors are similar, just a little different tone in them, but I think either one works with this one. And then I've got the lovey bunches that I'm stamping here right next to the flowers. And that's all for the inside of the card. So it's super simple, and going to be done here in just 1 second. So don't forget that the retiring list has posted from Stampin' Up! For their annual catalog, and everything that's on the list, with the exception of stamp sets, they're guaranteed to be available through April 23rd, but everything else that is on the retiring list is only while supplies last. So if there are things on that list that you are wanting, make sure you're getting out and getting them purchased soon, soon, soon. And there are some really good deals, like shockingly good deals on dies where they're like 70% off. So if there are die sets that you don't have that you've been looking at, definitely go get out, take a peek at the sale. It's linked up in my blog post and on my blog, which is stampwithamyk.com. So feel free to hop out there and go check out my online store and pick up some of those great deals. So thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate y'all joining me for Friday afternoon, and I will chat with y'all. I'll plan to be live on my Facebook page around 2 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday, and then back here on YouTube live around 2 o'clock Eastern time on Friday. So thanks again for joining. Have a great weekend, and we'll chat soon.